Well, hello again, sixth graders. Fancy meeting you here. We're on our next journal entry, diary entry, but I wanted to ask you guys, I have been cooking a lot. My husband and I have been cooking a lot at home since we're not going out. Are you guys doing the same, or mom and dad, grandmas and grandpas cooking more food? If so, what's been your favorite at-home meal? What have you guys been really enjoying? I know for us, it's sometimes with the busy work day, school day, it's hard to take a while to cook, but we've had some more time at home, so I got to make some delicious stir fry the other day. My girls loved it, ate lots of vegetables. So just curious, what's your favorite at-home meal? Also, I would like to do a shout out to some students that I don't think I've said hi to yet, but hi to Christian and David W. and Naomi W. I miss you guys. And I'm thinking of you guys because you all sit at the same table in my classroom, in my homeroom. So miss you guys. All right, let's continue. Today's reading, we're going to be able to get to finish or answer 2 questions. So hopefully you've already done number 1 because I gave you the page number. Number 2, what happened to the men that parachuted out of the plane? We'll read that pretty soon. And then number 3, what problem does Anne have concerning the radio? It's on 2 pages and it's not right out there, the answer. You can definitely feel her sentiment because she talks a lot about it. And then this one will actually be on tomorrow's reading, but it's right away in the beginning in tomorrow's reading, so I may point that out to you guys. All right, let's go.
A plane crashed near here yesterday.
Sorry guys, somehow it kept going just a little bit further, so I'm gonna back up just a bit.
Where's Anna? Thursday, 23 March 1944. Dear Kitty, things are running more or less normally again now. Our coupon men are out of prison again, thank goodness. Miep returned yesterday. Ellie is better, although she still has a cough. Coupouise will have to stay at home for a long time still. A plane crashed near here yesterday. The occupants were able to jump out in time by parachute. The machine crashed onto a school, but there were no children there at the time. The result was a small fire and 2 people killed. The Germans shot at the airmen terribly as they were coming down. The Amsterdammers who saw it nearly exploded with rage and indignation at the cowardliness of such a deed. We, I'm speaking of the ladies, nearly jumped out of our skins. I loathe the blasted shooting.
So hopefully that's clear, but that's page 186. Again, I'm not going to fill it out for you, but I will put 186. And I even have, oops, sorry about that. I even have some pages from the graphic novel to show you guys. It's a 2-pager, so it might be a little bit hard for me to get it all on there. So here's that scene that she's talking about. The men had parachuted out of the airplane and the Germans shot at them. It says that the plane landed in a school. How terrifying. But thankfully, there were no children in the school. But still, how terrifying to have witnessed all of that, to be right next to it and not be able to do anything. But that was their life. That was daily life. Machine guns, airplanes, and soldiers. Okay, let's get back. Hopefully if it focuses. There we go.
I often go upstairs after supper nowadays and take a breath of fresh evening air.
Right here.
I like it up there, sitting on a chair beside him and looking outside.
Him is Peter.
Van Don and Jusel make very feeble remarks when I disappear into his room. Anna's second home, they call it. Or, is it suitable for young gentlemen to receive young girls in semi-darkness? Peter shows amazing wit in his replies to these so-called humorous sallies. For that matter, Mummy too is somewhat curious, and would love to ask what we talk about, if she wasn't secretly afraid of being snubbed. Peter said it's nothing but envy on the part of the grown-ups, because we are young, and we don't pay much attention to their spitefulness. Sometimes he comes and gets me from downstairs, but he turns simply scarlet in spite of all precautions, and can hardly get the words out of his mouth. How thankful I am that I don't blush. It must be a highly unpleasant sensation. Daddy always says I'm prudish and vain. But that's not true. I'm just simply vain. I have not often had anyone tell me I was pretty, except the boy at school who said I looked so attractive when I laughed. Yesterday, I received a genuine compliment from Pater, and just for fun, I will tell you roughly how the conversation went. Pater so often used to say, "Do laugh, Anna." This struck me as odd, and I asked, "Why must I always laugh?" "Because I like it. You get such dimples in your cheeks when you laugh." "How do they come, actually?" "I was born with them. I've got one in my chin, too. That's my only beauty." "Of course not. That's not true." "Yes, it is. I know quite well that I'm not a beauty. I never have been and never shall be." "I don't agree at all. I think you're pretty." "That's not true." "If I say so, then you can take it from me it is." Then I naturally said the same of him. I hear a lot from all sides about the sudden friendship. We don't take much notice of all this parental chatter. Their remarks are so feeble. Have the two sets of parents forgotten their own youth? It seems like it. At least they seem to take us seriously if we make a joke, and laugh at us when we are serious. Yours, Anna.
All right, so there's several things that I want to talk about in this one. First of all, we'll have a vocab word for next week if you want to get ahead on that. Genuine. Okay, so you guys can look that up on WordWeb and get that started for next week. If you're able to come in on Friday and pick up the new yellow sheet, you can wait until then, or you can start a new one on a lined piece of paper. So everybody kind of has an opinion of their relationship. They may not remember what it was like to be young and to have an infatuation with somebody. And she's getting a genuine compliment, where that's where that word comes from, a real, true, sincere compliment from Peter about her dimples. He likes how she smiles. And this is something that's in the movie, if we ever get a chance to finish it. She says that she's not a beauty. She never has been and never will be. Margot is. She feels that Margot is so kind and so gentle and so much more beautiful than she is. But Peter does find her pretty, and that just makes her feel really good. And I have a picture of that to show you in my graphic novel. But just the bottom of it. Let's see if I can get it in there. I wish that I could fold it, but I don't want to do that. Most important, I haven't had many people tell me I'm pretty until yesterday. Can you just smile for me? Why do you always ask me to smile? Because of the two dimples, the two beautiful dimples on your cheeks. I was born with them, the only mark of beauty I possess. Oftentimes we're too hard on ourselves, especially girls. And even though outside beauty doesn't matter, it is kind of special or important to a girl to hear that. Maybe for guys too, I'm not sure. Okay, let's continue. 187.
Critical times, but it's just simply stupid that there should be so many quarrels over it. They may speculate, laugh, abuse, and grumble.
Let's see. It skipped.
I know quite well that I'm not a beauty. I never have been and never shall be. I don't agree at all. I think you're pretty. That's not true.
It backed up a little bit, guys.
If I say so, then you can take it from me it is. Then I naturally said the same of him. I hear a lot from all sides about the sudden friendship. We don't take much notice of all this parental chatter. Their remarks are so feeble. Have the two sets of parents forgotten their own youth? It seems like it. At least they seem to take us seriously if we make a joke, and laugh at us when we are serious. Yours, Anna. Monday, 27 March 1944. Dear Kitty, one very big chapter of our history in hiding should really be about politics. But, as this subject doesn't interest me personally very much, I'd rather let it go. So for once I will devote my whole letter to politics today. It goes without saying that there are many different opinions on this topic, and it's even more logical that it should be a favorite subject for discussion in such critical times, but It's just simply stupid that there should be so many quarrels over it. They may speculate, laugh, abuse, and grumble. Let them do what they will, as long as they stew in their own juice and don't quarrel, because the consequences are usually unpleasant.
So this is something that grown-ups argue about, speculate about a lot, our politics. Even in this situation where, to me, it seems really very clearly that the Germans were wrong and the Allies were in the right, but there's still arguments going on within the household of if the leaders are making the right choices, should they have done this, should they have done that, why didn't they get in there sooner? So even back then, politics are just something that get argued about all the time, probably always will. There is another vocab word, consequences, very important word. That'll be for the next one, the next set for next week if you want to get a head start on that one. So again, our answers for the next question, number 3, are on this page and this page.
The people from outside bring with them a lot of news that is not true. However, up till now, our radio set hasn't lied to us.
Our radio.
Hank, Miep, Kupuis, Ellie, and Crawler all show ups and downs in their political moods. Hank least of all. Political feeling here in this secret annex is always about the same. During the countless arguments over invasion, air raids, speeches, etc., one also always hears the countless cries of impossible, or Gottes Willen. If they are going to start now, however long is it going to last? It's going splendidly. First class. Good. Optimists and pessimists. And above all, don't let's forget the realists, who give their opinions with untiring energy, and just as with everything else, each one thinking he is right. It annoys a certain lady that her spouse has such unparalleled faith in the British, and a certain gentleman attacks his lady because of her teasing and disparaging remarks about his beloved nation.
So that's talking about Mr. and Mrs. Von Don. I wanted to point out some vocab words for you guys to choose for next week. I know we haven't had the test on the ones from last week, but I don't want to miss them. Disparaging is a great word. There's one up here. Speculate would be another great word for you guys to choose. Unparalleled would be a great word for you guys to look up. Stupendous, but we're not quite there in that paragraph yet.
They never seem to tire of it. I have discovered something. The effects are stupendous, just like pricking someone with a pin and waiting to see how they jump. This is what I do. Begin on politics. One question, one word, one sentence, and at once they're off.
So again, we have some figurative language here. When often in many different situations, if you bring up politics, if you start with just one sentence, something that is salacious or scandalous or just really opinionated, and you say it out loud, it's like pricking somebody with a pin to see how they jump. Somebody else will react, oh, really? Is that what you think? And they start going. My dad is guilty of this. He loves talking about politics, and he'll often just start out with one sentence. So did you hear about and then he likes to see how we react to him. So she likes to do the same because she knows how they're going to react. We read a couple weeks ago about how she knows how they're going to finish every story. She can start them off and she knows how they're going to finish.
Just as if the German Wehrmacht news bulletins and the English BBC were not enough, they have now introduced special air raid announcements. In one word, magnificent. But on the other hand, often disappointing too. The British are making a non-stop business of their air attacks, with the same zest as the Germans make a business of lying.
That's a good vocab word right
The radio, therefore, goes on early in the morning and is listened to at all hours of the day, until 9, 10, and often 11 o'clock in the evening. This is certainly a sign that the grown-ups have infinite patience, but it also means the power of absorption of their brains is pretty limited. With exceptions, of course. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. 1 or 2 news bulletins would be ample per day. But the old geese, well, I've said my piece. Arbeiter Program, Radio Orange, Frank Phillips, or Her Majesty Queen Wilhelmina, they each get their turn, and an ever-attentive ear. And if they're not eating or sleeping, Then they're sitting around the radio and discussing food, sleep, and politics. Ugh, it gets so boring. And it's quite a job not to become a dull old stick oneself. Politics can't do much more harm to the parents.
So she is just sick of all the politics that she hears on the radio.
I must mention one shining exception. A speech by our beloved Winston Churchill is quite perfect. 9 o'clock on Sunday evening. The teapot stands with the cozy over it on the table, and the guests come in. Dussel next to the radio on the left, Mr. Von Don in front of it with Pater beside him. Mummy next to Mr. Von Don, and Mrs. Von Don behind him, and Pim at the table, Margot and I beside. I see I haven't described very clearly how we sit. The gentlemen puff away at their pipes. Pater's eyes are popping out of his head with the strain of listening. Mummy wearing a long, dark negligee, and Mrs. Von Don trembling because of the planes, which take no notice of the speech, but fly blithely on towards Essen. Daddy sipping tea. Margot and I united in a sisterly fashion by the sleeping Mooshie, who was monopolizing both our knees. Margot's hair is in curlers. I am wearing a nightdress, which is much too small, too narrow, and too short.
This ends side 2 of cassette 4. Please stop the tape before fast-forwarding to the end and loading cassette 5. Anne Frank, cassette 5.
It all looks so intimate, snug, peaceful, and this time it is, too. Yet I await the consequences with horror. They can hardly wait till the end of the speech, stamping their feet, so impatient are they to get down to discussing it. Oh, they egg each other on until the arguments lead to discord and quarrels. Yours, Anna.
So there's some good words to egg each other on. That would be an idiom. So if you can look up egg in that way, it would be different than just the noun that we're used to. Discord is another good one. We've talked about quarrels before. We had a word that meant the same thing, but discord. So squabble was our word that meant what quarrels meant. And there's consequences again. So this whole diary entry is just how frustrated she is with the adults just listening to politics and not being able to wait to discuss it. So we'll read this one for the next day. I believe this is Wednesday's reading, but right here is the answer to number 4 if you're interested. Okay, page 190. All right, I will see you guys soon.